Good morning, everybody. Today's video, I'm going to show you how to alleviate some tension that you might be getting in the neck or your lower back that's kind of driving into your hamstrings. That's not necessarily driven from muscle tightness, but from dural tightness. So we're going to use a couple of self-screens, and then we're going to move over to the corrective exercises, and then at the end, we're going to load it up with a hip hinge pad. Okay, so a lot of us will wake up, especially in the morning, like myself, wake up and things kind of feel tight along the backside, especially if your training has had a lot of volume or you've been compressing the spine. But we can't assume that it's because of tight muscles. If you can't bring your chin down and all of a sudden you got this tightness back here, it might be the dura. Now the dura is this tube that covers up the spinal cord. It attaches to the inside of the skull on the brainstem and then travels all the way down to the tailbone and then continues on into the sciatic nerves. But if the dural tube is fixed or stuck or is not sliding along in the spinal cord, it can start to pull on the nervous system, on the peripheral nerves, and that'll feel tight, but we'll get kind of numbness, tingling, and these ropey sensations in the extremities that are just going to get protective. So it's going to use the muscles as slaves to protect the nervous system. That's what the nervous system does, hits the brakes. So we can use a toe touch and see, yeah, things are kind of tight. You know, bring your chin right into your chest as well, because what people do is they'll do toe touch and they're slackening the system. Bring your chin down and then wind it all the way down and see what's happening there. If we want to be a little more specific, or if there might be a bias to one side, we'll do what's called the slump test. Legs together, okay, hands behind your back, chin to chest, and I want you to roll all the way down so you feel tension. Now, if you just, this is your range, that's fine. And then bring the toes up, straighten the leg. Now what a normal sensation is, you'll get a little bit of stretch back here, but you can fully extend the knee. If that tension changes by lifting the chin or lifting the back, and all of a sudden, oh, that feels better, that might be dural tension. It's not necessarily hamstring or fascial. Same thing, here to here. Does it feel different? Is it symmetrical? Now, if not, I'm going to go over into the spinal waving, snaking, and coiling, and then into a stretch on the wall that we can use next. Okay, so we found some tension somewhere along the spine, but we're not quite sure. And we can use an active segmental mobility exercise to get the control back, but also we can tease out some of the tension in the dura. So the first thing that we go over, and this is what we teach in the AMT level 1, is we're going to do what's called spinal waving. Now we can do bottom up and top down. I'm going to show you the bottom up. So if I got a little bit of fixations here, I'm going to tuck tail, and each segment I'm going to curl up, and then I'm going to keep the chin down and I'm going to arch one segment at a time, and then I curl back down. One segment, so I keep the chin on, the neck is up, and lastly the neck comes on. Now I can do a top down where I'm looking down, I'm flexing. Either are fine. It really depends on what your control is and what feels right for you. The next is snaking. So it's more of a side bend, and what you're going to do is you're going to whip the hips to the side. Same thing, you're going to think one segment at a time. You're going to look for your booty, and then it leaves and it whips the other side. Now what we don't want to do is, we don't want to get any rotation going on in here. So you can put something on your lower back to give you feedback of what's happening with your spinal position. And of course you're always breathing. And you might feel a couple little pops here and there. That's okay. That's just the spine decompressing. And then lastly, we're going to do coiling. Now, coiling is just, it's rotation, but it's a little bit more with purpose, as we're going to focus on one segment at a time. So we're going to use the bottom segment here, and I'm going to reach under, and as I come back up, I'm going to think about rotate through the pelvis. I'm following my thumb with my eyes and my head to keep the sequence in order. And I'm going to drop my pelvis back down, and I'm going to reach, and I'm following here. And you can do it with your breath. And I'll show it from the other side. So I'm following the thumb down. Inhale. Follow it back down. So if any of you have played with some of these movements before, it's just adding a little bit more intention onto how to perform it. It's nothing magical, I'm not recreating the wheel here, but if you can think about, I'm kind of waving, snaking, and then coiling. Those are kind of the three movements that the spine does, and they need to do it. Each segment needs to do it independently. If we're getting a little fixed or stuck, or we lost awareness in the spine, which happens from too much sitting, standing, and just not moving through it as we should, that can happen. We're gonna head over to the last stretch, which is a really nice one. It's an L-DOA stretch. And then we're gonna pair that up with some deadlift. The last mobility exercise is called an L-DOA stretch. It's an L5-S1 decompression. It is designed more for fascia, but what I found is it's got a really nice dural component to it to decompress both the neck all the way down to the tailbone. And my friend, who's a really great osteopath in town, Corey, she showed me this, and I've been using it quite a bit and getting great results. So, we're gonna set up on the wall so your bum bones, these sit bones here, are pressed right up against. I'm going to take each piece of this one at a time to slowly add tension. So I'm gonna lock out my knees. So I'm flattening those up against the wall. I'm going to drive my heels towards the ceiling. I'm gonna pull my toes towards my nose. I'm going to turn my toes towards one another, so I'm creating some internal rotation. My ribs are down, my back is flat. I'm going to keep my gaze straight through my toes, because when I look down, it's gonna keep my neck flexed. If I look up, it's gonna try to slacken, it's gonna keep me in extension. So we don't wanna do that. We wanna open and stretch everything at the same time. I'm gonna extend the wrists, externally rotate, supinate the arms, and I'm gonna slowly drop back to the point where I feel tension. And you're always going to move to where you can breathe. If I'm moving so far in the stretch and I'm holding or struggling my breath, then it's too much. Okay, back off. Only go where you can breathe. And after each breath, check to see what's happening. Are you slackening? Are you letting those feet spin out? Are you letting the arms spin out? So what will happen is, because it's a little uncomfortable to the system, you're going to instinctively just unwind stuff. Well, we don't want that. We want to breathe through it. So we're going to do 5 to 10 breaths. And if something feels a little tingly, take off the tension for a moment, shake it out, come back in. I'm reaching, extending, turning in. And then as I'm finished, I'm going to take those pieces off one at a time, so we don't get this recoil in the system and recompression. As I come down, I'm going to log roll as a unit, so I don't rotate through that lower lumbar segment and cause that compression on one side. Now, we've created some nice mobility, we're gonna lock it in. Okay, now that we have some new mobility and everything feels symmetrical, what we like to do is we like to lock it in with some resistance. So we create mobility, we create some new ranges of motion. In order to lock it into place, we gotta load it up. So we're gonna use the deadlift to lock in our new hip hinge pattern, our new mobility that we created on the backside. So when we're doing this, if you're doing a kettlebell is the easiest to do. You can use barbell, whatever you like. We're getting nice and close. Chop at the hips, bum back. Grip, rip the handle in half. Make sure you're locking up here, looking out in front. Nice neutral neck is relaxed. Grip, sniff, lift. Okay, make sure the neck is relaxed at the top. Sniff again. Slowly come back down. Reset. Back down. What a lot of people will do is they'll make a mistake. They won't lock the lumbar spine. They don't set the posture, and all of a sudden it's going to create abnormal shear and compression in the spine, and it will wind up the dura again. If you're lifting and you lose mobility, you've done something wrong. The nervous system went protective, and it's not allowing you that range of motion anymore because it doesn't want you to damage things. So really nice self-check to make sure that it's safe to deadlift or safe to hip hinge or kettlebell swing, whatever you want to do, even with squatting. Check your movement, correct it, recheck, and then load it, okay? We need to load it. This is a really, really nice sequence to do, especially at the end of the day, after training to unwind and decompress the nervous system, and before bed. So just putting your legs up on the wall, just do that for a couple minutes, 10 breaths, and it has a really nice decompression component to it that you'll less likely wake up in the morning with a tight, achy back, and you'll have a better day. If you like the information that you're hearing here, head over to tomswells.com. The AMT, the Advanced Movement Therapist Level 1, is ongoing in London this January, so you can register for that. A lot of this information will be in the level